Welcome back to our YouTube channel, The Triathlon Diary. Thanks very much for anyone new who's watching the videos or subscribing, and also thanks to everyone who's watched our last couple of videos, as they've got quite a lot of views and likes, and we really appreciate it. It's a lot of hard work putting out these videos, and myself and Sophia are obviously putting ourselves out there, putting this content out there, and yeah, sometimes we don't know how it's going to be received. So thanks very much to everyone that's engaging and yeah, just liking what we're putting out there. We're getting a lot of nice feedback, which is really good. So this video is about my race at the weekend, Venice-Jesolo Ironman 70.3, where I finished second. Obviously a really good result for myself. I'm buzzing, really happy with how it went, especially after Geelong, coming fourth. I wasn't sure, well, was that just a kind of one-off performance, or am I going to be able to back that up? Can I get close to the podium, or, how are things going to change in a European race as well? Because some people say over in Australia that sometimes they're just running races, and maybe in Europe there's some better bikers, and I know that that's a little bit of a weakness of mine at the moment, just trying to get stronger on the bike. So I thought, there'll be a lot of pressure put on the bike, and how will that change the race dynamic for me, and will it affect my performance? But it was really nice to just see, that I can still race in a slightly different race scenario, slightly different race course, and still put out a good performance. So yeah, that was really positive and nice to kind of take that away and have another good result for the 2025 season so far. So what happened on race morning? So for me, I like to get up like 3 hours before the race, I'd say, so that I can have my rice, honey and banana. So that's my classic pre-race meal. It's easy on the stomach. It's never had any issues with it in the past in racing, and I find it's very simple. Just pure carbs, and like I say, it doesn't upset the stomach for the run, which is ideal. However, I didn't actually have a microwave, and there was no kettle either. So I had to I tried to put the rice into the sink to get it warm, but that just didn't work. So yeah, it was in the packet. I didn't put it into the sink. That would be a bit weird. So it was in the packet, tried to heat it up so it wasn't like rock solid, because I couldn't put it in the microwave. It was one of those preheat ones. And yeah, it didn't really work. So I had cold, hard rice with banana and honey for my morning breakfast, which wasn't really ideal when it's hard enough eating food in the morning when you already feel a little bit sick and nervous. So that wasn't ideal. So yeah, I had that about 3 hours before the race. So I got up, I think it was just around 4 a.m. because the race started at 7:15. So I got up at 4. And then once I had my breakfast, just made sure the body was feeling good, packed up my bags, made sure I had everything ready, got my race kit on, had my Morton bicarb. For anyone that doesn't know, bicarb helps buffer lactate, and for me that really helps as someone who's quite an anaerobic athlete, and I have the Morton bicarb around 2 hours before, so that was just before I left the door, because I left to go to the transition area around 5 o'clock, so it opened just after 5, I think, around 5:30. So got to transition around 5:30. Everything was already pretty much there. We'd set up our bike the day before. We had our bike gear bag, which had our helmet and our race belt, and then our run gear bag, which had socks, run shoes, gels, sunglasses, and Garmin. So that's what I had in my run bag, and that was all set up the day before. So it's quite stress-free, to be honest, in the morning, because you just leave with your bag, which has got maybe your wetsuit, some hydration stuff, some fuel, but everything else that you need for the race is already in transition. So yeah, it's kind of quite relaxing. You get all the stress out the day before, and race morning's actually quite stress-free, and everyone's also pretty tired at 5:30 in the morning, so no one's really like in your face or getting too nervous. Everyone's actually still kind of a bit of a zombie and quite tired at that time in the morning. So I feel like it's transition zone at 5:30 is very relaxed. And then after that, walked down to the swim start once everything was set up, got all the elastic bands and everything on the shoes, like hydration, nutrition was all on the bike. Walked down to the beach, which was like about a K and a half, so it took a good 10-15 minutes to walk down. So by the time I actually got to the beach, there wasn't much time to really mess around. I had straight on with the wetsuit, straight in for a swim warm-up, did about 10-15 minutes, had my Red Bull and a gel before I got into the swim warm-up, because I always have that before. Bit of caffeine, bit of carbs, just to make sure I've got my stores as high as possible from a carbohydrate point of view. And then swim warm-up, what I normally do, is very different for everyone, but for me I find doing like a bit of strong aerobic swimming, so maybe like, I don't know, 5 minutes straight into some strong swimming, so you don't get too cold either. And then I'll do 4 times 80 strokes, 1 strong aerobic, 1 around 1500 meter pace, 1 a bit harder, and then 1 at like 400 meter pace. So I'm just going through the paces, trying to get my lactate up to above LT1 or close to LT2 by the time I get out the swim warm up. So looking for between 2 and 3 millimole when I get out, so that then at least I've got my whole system going, I'm warmed up and everything's ready to go. So by the time I start the race, it's not a shock to the system and I'm not going in cold turkey. And then yeah, between swim warm up and lining up, we had about 10 minutes. And the weird thing with Ironman, which not a lot of people probably know, is every race is different. Sometimes it's a free-for-all for the start, sometimes they structure it a little bit, sometimes it's maybe a pontoon, deep water start, beach start. So for Venice, it was a beach start, and there's no call out. So for short course, we're all used to just walking out in your ranked order, you pick a spot that's left available, you've got your own little space. Whereas with Ironman, you do your swim warm up and you could start lining up 10 minutes before the race if you wanted, or 5 minutes before, whatever, and there's no order. You just get on the line. They didn't even have a start line actually set up. They just put down a bit of rope, branded Ironman tape actually on the ground when we were all standing there, and kind of made sure it was straight and made sure it was kind of semi-fair on the beach. So it's very relaxed. That's probably something Ironman could improve, just making sure that start line is actually a little bit fairer, because with the fields getting big and there's 70 guys on the start line, it's quite important that 1, everyone's swimming the same distance, and 2, that everyone's got a bit of space. Because there's nothing stopping you standing behind the fastest swimmer if you want. You know, you don't have to all be in a line. You could be like 3 or 4 deep, which again is very different to short course. You could never do that. You'd get disqualified. So yeah, that's taken a bit of getting used to, and you have to just take it with a pinch of salt and not get too stressed about, oh, that's not fair, or that's where am I meant to stand, and just try and relax and go with the flow. So yeah, the swim start was pretty savage actually. It was very wavy. Quite a long run in as well. With my short legs, I'm not the tallest guy. I lost quite a lot of time to likes of Jonas Schomburg and a few other tall guys, because they could run for ages and get over the waves. So I lost maybe 10 or 20 meters on those guys, because I had to dive in a lot earlier, and they could run for a bit longer when the water was quite shallow. So yeah, that wasn't ideal. I found myself in a bit of a mess going around the first buoy. I got dunked really bad. Spent quite a lot of energy trying to fight around the buoy, and from that point on, for the next K of swimming, I was really fighting, just trying to get back to the front group. I managed to get back eventually, but by that point there was 4 guys that had gone off the front, and I'd missed that kind of break, so I just had to sit in the chase group in the swim and just try and conserve and save as much energy as possible, because I could already feel myself having to work quite hard from that first part of the run in round the first buoy and then chasing back on. So the swim wasn't ideal for me. I came out in 9th place, I think, 20 seconds down from the leader, Yannick Schauffler, and for me that was a bad swim. I've done 3 Ironman 70.3s now, and each swim I've been basically at the front or right in the front group, and to be off and have a 20-second gap to the front guys for me wasn't good enough, and I know I'm a much better swimmer than that, and I should have been able to make that front group of 4 or 5. So something to have a think about for the next race, and I think it was just the conditions for me. I found it really tough. I found myself not in the right position, and yeah, that meant that I was just a little bit further back. But I had a really good transition, got into the bike in around 5th or 6th place, so I was really happy about that. I managed to save some time there, and the start of the bike was pretty nails, not gonna lie. Anyone can say what they want, that it wasn't too hard, but the bike was solid, especially for the first 20 or 30 minutes. When I did Bustleton last year and when I did Geelong, to be honest, the first 2 to 3 minutes of the bike was easy. There was no one attacking, no one putting down 500, 600 watts to break the group. It was very relaxed. Whereas Venice, I mounted my bike and it was like a short course race. It was absolute full gas for the first few minutes, because everyone was trying to bridge the gap to the front guys, because there was a little bit of gaps, and then people were chasing from behind and we were trying to put pressure on them. And I found myself, in a lot of pressure. I think my heart rate was way above 180, 185, which is quite high on the bike, especially, at the start of the bike. So that was tough, and I was thinking, oh crap, I hope this does chill out a little bit, because we've still got a long way to go. And it didn't really relax until about 30 minutes, because we did an out and back section, On the way back, we were riding about 55k an hour into the tailwind. No one was getting any benefit. It was just pure power on the pedals. Everyone was strung out like 20 meters. There was no drafting. It was really hard at that point. And then to make it even better, Rico went past everyone through the town, through the technical section, and strung the whole group out even more. Everyone was still trying to ride 55k an hour with the tailwind. Rico got a gap and everyone was trying to chase, so there was just like 30 meters to every athlete, because it was so fast at that point and so strung out. And thankfully at around 40 minutes it chilled out a bit on the far section of the course, and then on the way back into the headwind it got a lot easier, and I kind of knew that. I thought, right, we've got a huge tailwind here, it's going to be really hard. Just stay with the group as much as you can until you hit the headwind, and then you can sit in, conserve energy, it'll be easier. I did have to pull one strong turn. I ended up in the front, so I did pull my weight a little bit. But for me, the bike is at the moment about being smart, using my energy where I need to. I'm not someone that's going to be riding off the front like Rico. I'm not someone that can pull loads of turns and still run well off the bike. You know, the time trial position is very new to me. The 2 hour solid threshold effort is still very new to me. And for me, just being able to stay in the front group and being smart is how I know I'm going to race well. So yeah, trying to hide in the group, as people say, and not pull crazy turns on the front, because I think when on a flat course like that, you can ride on the front, but you're not going to get away from anyone. So it's kind of pointless, to be honest, unless you're Rico and you can ride at 380 watts off the front. I don't think you can really do it in that kind of course unless it's hilly. So yeah, coming off the bike, we had a 4-minute deficit to Rico. I dismounted my bike first, which was kind of the plan, because in Geelong, I was kind of 8th, I think, coming off the bike, quite far back in the group. And I was like, I should have just gone to the front or tried to ride hard for the last couple minutes and pass everyone. Because when you're strung out at 20 meters, you know, you could be coming off the bike at the back of the group like 20 seconds back, and you're giving someone a 20-second advantage going onto the run. And you would never do that in a short course race. So I made it a goal for at the weekend in Venice to really commit in the last 3 minutes and get to the front and just try and hold the front so that I could dismount first. And I managed to do that. Emil came round me just at the end, so we kind of dismounted together at the front. And that made a huge difference, because I had a really quick transition again, and I led the first 4K of the run, I think, 3-4K. It meant I could relax, it meant I wasn't chasing anyone, and it also allowed me to put a lot of pressure on everyone behind. And I think that's what really set the race up and made the run really hard at the start, because I decided to run really hard for the first couple K. I think I was running 3:05s, which was way above race pace, but it put a lot of pressure on everyone else behind. And then Panagiotis and Emil caught me at around that 3 or 4K mark, and Emil went past me, and then Panagiotis attacked crazy quick, and I was like, what the hell is going on? We've still got 15, at least 16, 15K to go. So yeah, I kind of sat behind Emil for a bit and thought, what's going on here? And then I remember saying to myself before the race, I was like, take risks, have fun, and go with the race and go with the pace. And I thought, okay, let's do it. So I just attacked as well, attacked Emil, got onto Panagiotis and ran on his shoulder for a little bit. And then about 30 seconds later, he went again and sprinted off. And I just thought, I need to be smart here. Let's not be totally stupid. I know racing's meant to be fun, but let's just let him go, see what happens. And because I got back up to Panagiotis the first time, it broke Emil. So I had a bit of a gap to Emil, and that kind of set my position up really well, because I managed to build onto the gap that I had on Emil and kind of hold the gap on Panagiotis for quite some time. You know, he got maybe 15 seconds and I pulled it back to 10 seconds, and we were just holding this 10-second gap the whole time. And I was getting a lot of time splits from friends and family on the sidelines saying that Rico was struggling. We were really catching him quite quick, and at about, I think it was maybe 13 or 14K, we both passed him. Panagiotis obviously just ahead of me, and then I caught Rico really quick after. And I thought, right, this is it for the win. You know, Panagiotis is 10 seconds ahead of me. That is the win. No one's going to come from behind. The gap at that point to Emil was almost a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And I thought, right, I need to try and really conserve my energy, be careful, but also see how much I can push. And I just didn't really have anything. From the last 5K, I got quite a bad stitch when I took my second gel, and I was struggling with my breathing. So I was worried that was going to get worse. So I didn't want to push too much and then the stitch get really bad and then have to stop and Emil catch me. And then with 3K to go, I started getting cramp in my calf, because when we were running back along the beach, there's a few real twisty sections around some cafes, and I was getting cramp going around every one of those sharp 90-degree turns. So I was really struggling to close any time to Panagiotis, and it was kind of frustrating that that was happening, because I didn't feel too bad in myself. I was just struggling with a few other things. One, because of the effort of the race, and two, it was actually quite hot. It got up to 27 degrees in the end. So, you know, there was a lot of salt being lost through the bike and the run. And I think that's why I started getting cramp. And also the salt water. I think swimming in really salty water does affect your stomach and the way that, obviously, what's going on in your muscles as well. So I think that's why that was happening. So it was frustrating, because in the end I finished second, only 6 seconds behind Panagiotis in first. And I could see him grab the tape just ahead of me. And I thought, you know, if everything was 100% fine, could I have really pushed that last 2K, caught him, and we might have had an amazing sprint finish all the way to the line, and it would have been really cool for everyone to watch, and also given me a real chance for the win. But yeah, Panagiotis was incredibly strong throughout the whole race, right at the front of the swim, you know, spent a lot of time at the front of the bike and ran the second fastest time of the day. So yeah, fair play to him. And it was cool for myself just to be right up at the front, in that podium position, getting a lot of exposure as well. And it was such a cool experience. My third Ironman 70.3, I would have never imagined being able to get second and almost a win at this point in my career, in my long course triathlon career. So yeah, I cannot complain, and I'm really excited for what's going to happen the rest of the year. You know, since the race, there's been some opportunities from sponsorship point of view, which I've never really had, and potentially, you know, a lot of discussion around T100 and racing some T100 this year. That would be a big goal of mine, and to try and get a contract next year, or at least a lot more racing in the T100 series, and yeah, see what happens with that. So next for me is Aix-en-Provence next Sunday, an absolutely stacked field. You've got the Norwegians, a lot of the guys as well that raced at the weekend are going to be racing as well. So it's going to be a very fast and tough race. It's in a lake swim. So there'll be no salt water. So that'll make the swim tough. It'll benefit me. It can hopefully mean we can string out the swim, get some big gaps at the start of the race. And then for the bike, it's very hilly. There's 1,100 meters of climbing. So it's going to be pretty tough. I think, you know, the likes of Christian and a few other really strong cyclists, Leon Chevalier is probably going to come from behind and push the bike. And I think, yeah, it's going to be really tough. A lot of really strong guys are going to want to push that bike on. For me, it's just going to be a case of trying to be smart, putting my effort in where I need to on the climbs, being as aero as possible on the flat and downhill sections. And to be honest, just trying to get off the bike first, really. And then I know I can put down a good run time. And yeah, hopefully it's a good run race between some of the quick runners, and hopefully I can be right at the front like last time. So yeah, keep an eye out for some updates on that over the next couple of days leading into race week next week. And yeah, hopefully I can post some more cool videos leading into the race and give you guys an insight into what I get up to over in France. And yeah, thanks very much everyone for watching, subscribing and liking to our YouTube channel. And please follow me on Instagram as well. I like to put out quite a bit of content, and I'm trying to, you know, put out some different things. Now I'm doing long course. So if anyone's got any ideas on what they'd like to see me post or talk about on the YouTube channel with Sophia, then please let us know, and we'd love to give you the content that you guys would like. Cheers.
I honestly just need to get to the finish line. Fine. Oh, thank you. That was good. Was it good to watch?
Everybody starts taking it away from your first one.